Naked truths aren't always pretty.
But Blake Lively's out for truths in her It Ends With Us lawsuit. So much so, the actress added an ex-CIA agent to her legal team.
Hey everyone! Today we're diving into some seriously wild stories that are all connected in the most unexpected ways. From Kourtney Kardashian's cringe-worthy protest moment to Timothée Chalamet's awkward red carpet situation, and Blake Lively's super sketchy new hire, we've got a lot to unpack. Before we jump in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because trust me, these stories are developing faster than anyone can keep up with. And what I'm about to share might change how you see some of your favorite celebrities. Listen, when I tell you that Kourtney Kardashian just had one of the most uncomfortable interview moments I've ever seen, I mean it.
Now to this, dozens of protesters once again gathered outside of the Calabasas landfill. They're demanding that debris from the Palisades fire be dumped elsewhere.
But that's just the beginning. We're also going to talk about why Blake Lively's latest move has everyone questioning her motives, and why Timothée Chalamet's recent interaction has people talking for all the wrong reasons. All right, let's dive into this Kourtney Kardashian situation because it's giving secondhand embarrassment to everyone who's seen it. Picture this. Kourtney shows up to protest toxic materials being dumped in Calabasas, you know, where all the rich people live, and what happens next is just wow. So she's at this protest about toxic debris from the fires being stored in her fancy neighborhood, and someone puts a microphone in front of her. Now, you'd think if you're going to show up to a protesting about, right? Wrong. The way she stumbled through this interview was like watching someone try to give a book report on a book they didn't read.
What are you doing here today?
We're here to just make it known that we're not okay with this and that toxic chemicals.
She starts talking about how Calabasas has all these rules: no smoking, no plastic bags, no plastic straws, even something about bright sky ordinances. But when it comes to actually explaining the issue at hand, it's like watching someone try to solve a math problem without knowing numbers exist. Here's what's really interesting though. She's out here protesting about toxic materials being stored in her rich neighborhood, but nobody's asking the obvious question. Where does she want them to put it instead? Because let's be real, we all know she just doesn't want it in her backyard. She's basically saying, put it in someone else's neighborhood without actually saying it. And the way she delivered this line about the wind blows and then the whole town gets cancer. I mean, that's not how any of this works. That's not how science works. That's not how wind works.
Protect Calabasas! Protect Calabasas! Protect Calabasas!
That's not how cancer works. Now, speaking of Kardashian drama, we need to talk about Khloe because what she's doing right now is raising some serious eyebrows. In the middle of all these devastating fires, while thousands of people are losing everything, Khloe's out here trying to sell her kids used clothes for profit. Listen, I'm not saying she can't sell her things, but the timing of this, it's giving major tone-deaf energy. She's literally selling Tatum's used Target clothes for more than what they cost new. We're talking about $20 for tights that you can get at Target right now for $6.99. Make it make sense. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. When we dig into the Kardashian family's history with money, there's this wild connection to Ray J's family that not many people talk about anymore.
Khloe Kardashian is once again receiving backlash, but this time it's about reselling her daughter True's used clothes online.
Back in 2006 and 2007, the Kardashians were accused of racking up over $120,000 on Brandy and Ray J's mom's credit card. And get this, when Sonia Norwood confronted them about it, they apparently apologized and said through their attorneys they'd pay it all back. But according to Ray J, they never did. The case eventually got settled out of court, but it shows you this pattern of entitled conduct that's been going on for years. What's really wild is how they used this money. They were allegedly using it to stock their stores. Dash and smooch. So we're not even talking about personal purchases here. We're talking about using someone else's credit card to fund their business ventures. That's not just crossing a line. That's jumping over it with a pole vault. Let's switch gears and talk about this super uncomfortable moment with Timothée Chalamet because this is the kind of secondhand embarrassment that makes you want to crawl under your couch.
Third time hosting Saturday Night Live. But it's my first time hosting it with a little stash and a little goatee. A little stash, a little goatee. Let's get a little close up on that, yeah? All right? Yeah, get closer, get to it. That's 37 hairs right there.
So he's doing this interview about playing Bob Dylan, right? He's giving these really thoughtful answers about his preparation, talking about how he had 5.5 years to get ready for the role, how he studied everything he could find about Dylan. The interview's going great. He's in his element, and then this interviewer decides to take things in a completely different direction. After he finishes talking about this serious role, this portrayal of one of music's most iconic figures, the interviewer asks him to do his ski rap from that old SNL sketch. Like, imagine preparing for years to play Bob Dylan, pouring your heart into this performance, and someone's like, hey, can you do that silly rap thing? The way Timothée handled it, though. pure class. Instead of getting visibly annoyed or making it awkward, he just smoothly said, "You know what? I'm gonna need a check for that." That's how you professionally shut down something inappropriate while keeping your dignity intact. But here's what's really concerning about this whole situation. It shows this bigger problem in entertainment journalism. Why are we still asking serious actors to perform like circus animals? This guy just gave an in-depth answer about his creative process, and the response is basically, "Dance for us, monkey."
We love our job and we love our work and we take it very, very seriously.
Oh, it's serious. Blake enlisting Nick Shapiro, the agency's former deputy chief of staff turned PR power.
It's the kind of conduct that makes you question where we're at as a society. Now, let's dive into something that's really raising red flags. Blake Lively's decision to hire Nick Shapiro. Because when I tell you this is sketchy, I mean sketchy with all caps. First off, let's talk about who Nick Shapiro actually is. We're not just dealing with your average PR guy here, guy here. This is someone who worked as deputy chief of staff at the CIA and was Obama's national security spokesperson. But it's what he did after leaving government that's really concerning. At Airbnb, Shapiro ran what they called the Black Box Crisis Team. They spent $50 million a year basically covering up serious incidents. We're talking about assaults, rapes, and even murders. His job wasn't to prevent these things from happening, it was to make sure nobody heard about them when they did. The way he handled these situations is particularly disturbing. Take the 2016 case in New York. A woman was raped, and instead of addressing the systemic issues, they paid her millions to keep quiet. That's not crisis management. That's professional silencing. So now Blake Lively's hired this guy in her legal dispute with Justin Baldoni. Think about what that tells us. When you hire someone who specializes in covering up serious crimes, what exactly are you planning to hide? It's like hiring a demolition expert to help you redecorate. It makes you question the real intentions. And here's what's really wild. Candace Owens actually made a good point about this. She compared it to Operation Mockingbird, where the CIA manipulated media narratives. When you're bringing in someone with that kind of background, you're not just hiring PR, you're hiring a professional narrative manipulator. Let's talk about Justin Bieber because what we're seeing lately is seriously worrying. His PR team is out here trying to convince everyone everything's fine, but his actions are telling a completely different story. First off, let's address this video he posted where he's literally rapping about being high. This comes right after his team put out this statement calling drug use allegations harmful and pitiful. But here he is on camera saying, "I fly high like a magpipe." Like, are we supposed to ignore what we're literally seeing with our own eyes? And then there's this wild moment where he's riding a bike while smoking from a bong. Not just any bike ride, we're talking about him filming himself doing this. His team can deny substance abuse all they want, but when you're posting evidence on your own social media, that's not just concerning, that's crying out for help. What's really telling is how he's been acting at public events. At Haley's Road pop-up, people noticed something was off. The way he's carrying himself, his energy, it's giving everyone flashbacks to his troubled periods from the past. And instead of addressing these legitimate concerns, his team is just gaslighting everyone, telling us we're not seeing what we're clearly seeing. But here's what's really concerning. This pattern of erratic conduct isn't new. Remember when he got that DWI and told the cops it would ruin the tour? When they asked, "What tour?" he said, "The world tour." Except there wasn't any world tour planned. That's the kind of disconnect from reality that should have everyone worried. Let's dive into something that connects all these stories, the way celebrities and their teams try to control narratives. Because what we're seeing right now is a masterclass in manipulation and damage control. Take Blake Lively's situation with Nick Shapiro. This isn't just about hiring a PR person. This is about bringing in someone who literally wrote the playbook on burying negative stories. The fact that she's willing to associate herself with someone known for covering up serious crimes tells us everything we need to know about her priorities. And look at how the Kardashians handle their image. Kourtney's out here trying to position herself as this environmental activist, but can't even articulate basic facts about what she's protesting. Meanwhile, Khloe's trying to spin selling used Target clothes at a markup as some kind of normal business venture. It's like they're living in this alternate reality where their actions don't need to make sense as long as they control the narrative. What's fascinating is how these PR strategies are evolving. It used to be about denying stories or issuing statements. Now it's about hiring ex-CIA operatives and creating entire alternative narratives. Look at Justin Bieber's team. They're literally telling us not to believe what we're seeing with our own eyes. The way these teams coordinate their responses is telling too. Notice how they all use similar language. Everything's either harmful allegations or false narratives or taken out of context. It's like they're all reading from the same crisis management handbook. But here's what's really wild. Social media has made it harder for these PR teams to maintain their preferred narratives. When celebrities are posting their own content, like Justin with his bong videos, it creates this disconnect between the official PR line and what we're actually seeing. let's talk about how social media is completely changing the game for these celebrities, because what we're seeing now is fascinating. It's like watching people try to maintain two different personalities at once, and it's not working out well for most of them. Take Kourtney's protest moment. In the past, her team could have controlled how that interview was presented, but now, it's all over social media, being dissected from every angle. People are making memes about her wind blows and everyone gets cancer comments, and there's no PR team in the world that can spin that into something intelligent. And let's look at how Khloe's clothing sale backfired. She probably thought it would be a simple business move, but social media immediately called out the tone-deaf timing. People are sharing screenshots of the Target prices next to her resale prices, and the math isn't mathing. It's creating this perfect storm of bad optics that no amount of carefully worded statements can fix. The way social media has exposed these celebrities' true personalities is particularly interesting. Like with Timothy's awkward moment in the past, this might have been a small industry story, but now, it sparked this whole conversation about how we treat actors, with people sharing their own similar experiences and calling out this kind of inappropriate conduct. What's really fascinating is watching these celebrities try to navigate between their curated image and their real personalities. Justin Bieber's social media is the perfect example. His team puts out these polished statements about his well-being, but then he goes and posts videos that completely contradict everything they're saying. And don't even get me started on how platforms like TikTok and Instagram have made it impossible for celebrities to control their narratives. Every interaction, every facial expression gets analyzed and reposted from multiple angles. There's nowhere to hide anymore. Let's connect all these dots, because what we're seeing here isn't just random celebrity drama. It's showing us something bigger about how fame and accountability are changing in 2025. Think about it. We've got Kourtney Kardashian trying to be an activist while clearly not understanding the basics of what she's protesting. This isn't just about one awkward interview, it's about celebrities thinking their platform gives them automatic credibility on serious issues. Just because you can afford to live in Calabasas doesn't mean you understand environmental science. Then there's Blake Lively hiring Nick Shapiro. This move tells us everything about how the wealthy and powerful handle problems. Instead of addressing issues directly, they're bringing in people who specialize in making problems disappear. But here's the thing, in 2025, nothing really disappears anymore. Every email, every conversation, every decision leaves a digital footprint. The Justin Bieber situation is particularly telling because it shows how the old PR playbook just doesn't work anymore. You can't have your team denying substance abuse while you're literally posting videos of yourself getting high. This disconnect between official statements and reality is becoming impossible to maintain. And let's talk about how money and privilege play into all this. The Kardashians' history with Ray J's family's credit card, Khloe selling used Target clothes at a markup during a crisis, it shows this complete disconnection from normal people's reality. They're operating in this bubble where regular rules don't apply, but social media is popping that bubble in real time. What's really fascinating is watching how these celebrities are struggling to adapt to this new landscape where transparency isn't optional anymore. The old methods of controlling narratives through carefully crafted PR statements just don't cut it when everyone has a camera and a platform. Listen, we need to wrap this up by talking about what all these stories mean for the future of celebrity culture. Because what we're seeing right now is just the beginning of a major shift in how fame works. Think about how each of these situations shows a different aspect of celebrity privilege crumbling under public scrutiny. Kourtney can't just show up and play activist without knowing the facts. Blake can't hire someone like Nick Shapiro without people questioning her motives. Justin can't have his team deny what he's literally posting himself. What's really wild is how all these stories connect to show us one clear truth: the gap between celebrity image and reality is getting smaller every day. Social media has created this environment where every move, every decision, every awkward moment gets captured, analyzed. There's nowhere to hide, no way to maintain those perfectly crafted images anymore. But here's what's really important. We, as consumers of media, have more power than ever to hold these celebrities accountable. When Khloe tries to sell overpriced used clothes during a crisis, we can call it out. When PR teams try to gaslight us about what we're seeing with our own eyes, we can push back. Before we wrap this up, drop a comment below with your thoughts on all this. Which story surprised you the most? Do you think celebrities will ever learn to be more authentic, or will they just find new ways to try to control their narratives? And if you're finding these deep dives valuable, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're going to keep exposing these stories and connecting the dots that nobody else is talking about. Remember, in 2025, being a fan doesn't mean being blind to problematic conduct. We can enjoy entertainment while still holding people accountable for their actions. Stay informed, stay critical, and I'll catch you in the next video.